father's rulership right in order to have a competent heir.
Right.
And the only way he's gonna know who he is through a course of self-discovery, because he has to realize who he is in real life. And then he have to go do work that's going to prove his validity of who he is.
Okay.
So in the course of all of this, the pygmies was decommissioned by Enki. They was given, go about y'all business, live y'all best life. And then Enlil came. He said, y'all still ain't sending us enough gold. Y'all can't stop sending the gold. Enki said, we met the quota. Enlil said, we still need more. They actually eat monoatomic gold, platinum, iridium, radium, and silver. And that's why they can live thousands of years. Because the energy conversion is zero loss. Right? The zero loss means that it's a superconduction taking place. And if you got zero loss of energy, you don't deteriorate. You deteriorate because you lose energy. Right? They call it entropy in science.
That's right.
And the entropy causes the aging factor to take place, which is artificially incorporated into the human genome. We didn't take physical form on a day-to-day basis. We came in a physical form periodically to perform functions. When they collapsed the fourth dimension into the third dimension, that's where all of the death was created. Because you stuck into a what they call a reincarnation loop. Enki don't want his genetic fuck up to be exposed as an inadequate humanoid. Right? So between Enki and Ninursin was his son, Ninurtu, who became the chief scientist on Nibiru.
Right.
And his teacher was a scientist named Nergal. So when Ninursin created another species of human, this is why it's two creations in the Bible. When he created a new species, he fucked up, trying to conceal it from the queen of heaven and earth. They used sulfur to replace the carbon, and that fucked up the creation. And they kept having birth defects. If you read if you read in the Sumerian tablets, it tells you that the remedy was 1 drop of Anunnaki blood would cure the genetic defect. Right? So we all of the royal families of the earth had Anunnaki blood. That's what created royalty to begin with. Right? But the earth, earthborn, we have a different psychological makeup from the Anunnaki, being from the original earth spirits. That mental makeup tells us, you know, we in this shit. We in this shit together. Whether we want to be or not, they got all of us in the same bucket, and crabs don't supposed to be in the bucket.
No.
So that's why they don't know that crab and the buckets are pulling each other in. They ain't trying to pull each other in. They trying to all get out. But ain't nobody strategizing the exit strategy to get out of the bucket. And along come me, I'm like, fuck it. I'm just going to kick the bucket over. We'll figure out how to get out from here.
I know that's right. So the various different, are you saying there was various different cloning processes?
It was 2 major processes. The first one was Enki's. His was in harmony with the rules of Earth.
Right.
And the great debauchery was what Enlil did.
Okay, explain that a little bit.
So by replacing the sulfur, the carbon with sulfur, it cuts off the ability to tap into the higher consciousness that allows you to ascend. And they were sentient. And that's where the problem came at, because one of the rules of the universe, the free will universe, is the only people that shouldn't have a right to ascend is those who choose not to.
Right, but it's their choice.
Right. You got some people that want to be servants no matter what. They don't want to be the leader. They don't want to be the one in the big mansion that own it. They just want to come in and clean that motherfucker up and go back to their little hut. Right? Because they feel like they serving a greater purpose. Now remember, we got something called the Great Arcana, which means the great work.
Right.
And the great work is codified in something called the Magnum Opus, which is the great book. And the Magnum Opus is broke up into parts and scattered around the world. These are called together collectively the Scrolls of Destiny. Now remember, Baba said that the Scrolls of Destiny was seized by somebody called Humbaba.
Right, Zuin.
Yep. Zuin is Alexander. The son of Alexander
the Great.
Yeah, so they say he's great with his sissy ass, but Alexander the Great is Enlil's son. He's Enlil's son.
Who? Alexander?
Yeah.
It's funny you should say that because like I've done a lot of research on like the Anunnaki, you know, based on the stuff that, you know, Pops left for us to study and, you know, what he taught us. And because that's my name, Nanorta. Like my first name is Messiah, but it's Messiah Nanorta Naya Al-Mahdi. And I used to read a lot about Nanorta and Lil's seed, the difference between, you know, in Lil's side and Inky's side and the war and the, you know, the Nibirian rules of succession. And that is a very complicated situation that they were in. Like that was very complicated, but that caused so much strife that even now to this day, we're still feeling that, I think.
Yeah, well, you got to look at the story they give us in the religions about the war in heaven. Right? In the war in heaven, they said they cast Satan to hell, right?
That's right.
And then how the fuck he end up on earth?
Well, I think that goes back to defining what hell is when you start to look at the various different terminologies in the protocols and the Wabble that Pops left for us. You have Gehenna, you have Hades, and you have Or, like Or of Chaldea or Chaldea. So, you know, it's various different perspectives. But I think that in religion, it tries to make us think that this is somewhere where you're going to burn physically if you don't follow the rules, when the definitions and etymologies of the word Gehenna, Hades, and Or has absolutely nothing to do with that.
Right. And well, let's see if we can't find hell real quick. And
okay.
the Satan means Lord Set.
Okay.
It's Set, E-N mean Lord in Sumerian. Now, they say that they cast him to hell. Okay, so Greek culture, what is it called?
Wouldn't that be Gehenna or Hades?
Greek culture is called Hellenistic.
Oh, yeah.
Open up.
I'm thinking about the language of the Bible. But yeah, go ahead.
Excuse me 1 second.
What's going on? Sorry, 1 second. How you?
Good, I'm good.
Oh, I guess I'll show you another time.
Oh.
Or I'm gonna send them to you.
Okay.
Julian has sent me some videos from last night game at his homecoming game.
Oh yeah, send me some. Send me some. All right.
He did the same thing.
Okay, so if Greece was a Hellenistic culture, and hell is short for Helen.
Right.
And Alexander is Enlil's son. Are we making some dots connect right here?
We sure are.
So as long as we under the rule of Alexander, we are in hell. Because he hijacked the original Greek culture as a Roman infiltrator. The Romans were Etruscans. The Etruscans was nomads. They had no home on earth. Them was Enlil children. We know them in the Arabic language or in Syriac as Arabi, the wanderers. And that's because they had no homeland. Now Elijah Muhammad he said that Yaqub's grafted death was not native to anywhere on the planet. Everywhere they go, they call Mr. He's talking about Enlil and his children. Jacob is Enlil, the supplanter, the underminer, the one who's trying to replace others. He's looking for a homeland. That's why when they sacked us over here, they also had to sack Africa and they had to sack Europe and Asia. So they controlled all the wars from both sides in order to get to the place where they was in control.
Right.
And this control system is based off economics. It's funneled to Switzerland, the only neutral country on the planet. The last war that Switzerland had was with the French. And this is when they infiltrated and settled in Switzerland. They came from France to Switzerland, and they don't want to be seen. That's why they say they're from the Amun priesthood or the concealed priesthood. And their problem is with those who come from the Aten priesthood, the ones who is known, the visible God, the one that stands out front and don't give a fuck. Al-Imam. Right? So they changed the meaning of shit and they changed the names. Now, Enlil names his kids after Enki kids on earth because that's who he's trying to replace. So when you go back in the Bible, when you look at the lineage of Cain and the lineage of Seth, they all start having the same names for some reason.
Right.
It's because that's a strategy. It's a military strategy to confuse who's the righteous and who not. And these are the scrolls that tells the story that became religious books. And if they can keep you in a stupor using the religious text, they can tell you the story without ever telling you the truth. You got to figure it out.
You're right about that, because they damn sure ain't giving up no factual information. It's just basically the way that the information is outlined. It just keeps people in a state of fundamental misconceptions of reality. Like,
so they
don't know.
They reverse engineered a mental virus, and the mental virus in Dianetics is called an engram.
Right, the engram. I studied Dianetics, and then they take you through all of these strategic processes to make you a clear, which means that, according to Dianetics, that they actually say that within inside of the subconscious mind, you have is pretty much your memorization of good and bad. But people in certain environments and certain circumstances takes place with them, and those things become re-stimulators and activate you to behave. They call it behavioral aberrations.
Right. And then you know about contagion and aberration. Right.
Yeah, I studied that. I studied that for a couple of years, but yeah.
Yeah. So the mental dynamic at place here, right?
Okay.
If I teach you something, if I take the truth and pervert it and then teach it to you as an absolute, the truth part of it gonna make it stick. The aberration is what's gonna come out as a mental disorder or defect. But when you get enough people that follows the aberration becomes an established norm that's not normal.
That is correct. And it's funny that you should say that, because after studying Dianetics, that's what led me to actually start teaching on what's called the 3 primary axioms. He says the number 1 dynamic principle of existence is survive. The number 2 dynamic principle of existence is the purpose of the mind is to acquire and apply knowledge related to survival. So how can you realistically solve a problem to continue your survival if all you have is misinformation? Your reasoning becomes superficial. And the way that the master teacher, the way that Pops actually explained it to us, that's the spell.
Yeah, Kingu.
Kingu. Amam, Kingu, Leviathan. That's all the spell. And then the 3rd axiom was a species remain alive and continue its survival so long as the species remain united. And meaning that basically survival is a collective duty and responsibility of each individual species. And we see it in animal kingdom. And I said even on many of my videos that you never see a lion hunt for food for a jackal. You never see a jackal hunt for food for a zebra. They actually innately know, and we call it instinct of subjectivity because animals have that level of reasoning. Instinct of subjectivity just means that they are subjected or controlled by their instincts to whatever degree that nature brought them into existence to pretty much survive. But for other moments, pretty much that we need each other to survive. It's not really like we can actually do it on our own because species compete for survival. The Chinese people, the African people, if you want to call them African, the Spanish or Hispanic people, we are all competing for the same resources. And it's the resources on the planet that we were supposed to be able to utilize within our respective geographical locations to basically be able to aid and assist and continue our survival.
Absolutely. It also goes to your diet from geography too. See, modern America got diet from all over the world incorporated into the great melting pot.
Right.
So some people believe everybody's supposed to be vegan. Everybody not supposed to be vegan. They're going to die. You're going to die because his body won't be able to live off the vegetation alone from years of adaptation to eating certain foodstuffs that's not vegetables. Right. Some people don't have fish in their diet. Their brain don't work right. They don't get enough of the omegas 3, 6, and 9 to facilitate the brain function.
Right. And it's funny you should say that also because I did another video on my old YouTube channel about that. Like, you can't say that all people should have the same diet all across the board because we are native to geographical locations with different climates that produces different things that are more naturally geared toward the body of the people that's native of that particular geographical location. So if that geographical location, its climate didn't permit for vegan foods to actually be grown, then that's not the native food of the people from that particular geographical location.
Yeah, like you got deserts that butt up against an ocean or a river or a massive lake, right? There's no vegetation growing in the desert. They living off whatever that lake, river, or ocean is producing.
Absolutely correct.
Right? So they eating fish, they eating crustaceans. Now those who come up in a vegetative-rich environment is more likely to have developed to live off vegetation alone. Those are natural vegans.
Right.
But most people don't know how to listen to their body to help them figure out the proper diet for who they are.
I agree. I definitely agree.
Like, and then there's certain stuff like beef was never meant to be a food stock, but bison was.
And why is that?
Saturated versus unsaturated fat.
Right.
The beef is saturated fat, which clogs the brain, and the brain, the oils of the saturated fat turn into the appearance of lard in the brain.
Now, some of them are older because I've seen some of that footage before about similar incidents in Brazil. But the the ones that I'm noticing is all these people with this gold and white shit on. That's Oshun ritual. These motherfuckers I believe they lying to us, y'all. Again. I believe that they trying to get us to fall for the banana in the tailpipe, and they don't want that shit that Brazil doing to reach Haiti. Because when Haiti called back to Sweetwater, that's a wrap. I'm just saying. Look at this. They saying that it's all out anarchy, but the people not tearing up nothing, and they dressing up like Oshun. They dressing in Oshun colors. The crazy thing about that, I go to the dock damn near every day. And today I get an Oshun flag. Right? Because I was going down there. This is brand fucking spanking new. Laying in the middle of a street with almost zero traffic. What's the odds? A scavenger hunt. The checker flag of Oshun mean we about to wrap this shit up. Sweetwater returns soon as the message is heard sufficiently. But look at that Brazil. Anybody that knows Oshun colors, look at what the people doing when they telling us they in anarchy and they tearing shit up. It just don't make sense to me to be otherwise at this particular point in time. But I need some oracle readers or tarot readers to read on that and see if it's what they telling us, or some people that know the Oshun rituals to look at it and see if it If those colors match what they telling us, because that don't for sure. Let me pin that for you. Where you go? Oh. Cause this shit is just too odd. Brazil supposed to be in anarchy because they are in dispute. Because this shit just don't sit right for some reason. If y'all watching, this shit just don't sit right. Right. So I'm sitting here watching this shit, and it just strikes me as odd. Now I posted some receipts on some more receipts on Enlil's arrest and all that shit. Inky coming to get Enlil kids and upgrade, bring the original template for the DNA is activated through the solar rays. So when they say Inky coming to bring back the original blueprint, it's because see if I can try to explain this where it makes sense to you. Where we at in the galactic clock at this particular close of the age going into this Aquarian, it's like we're traveling through a tube of time in a big circle. At this point in the tube, which is also laid down as our path through the universe, or what they call the Milky Way galaxy. So in this trajectory, there's another tube intersecting at the close of the age. In this inner tube, this other tube is a ray of blue UV light, some kind of blue light that the galaxy naturally uses to cleanse planets. This is the time when the Earth was going to get cleansed, whether we woke the fuck up or not. Because when you go through this blue light, it restores first. So your DNA had to go back to the original sequence code, which is going to unlock all of the junk DNA in order for it to properly align. Once it properly aligns, it's going to auto-correct all of the errors that they typed in the genome using tech and Sumer when they was making reptilian mammalian hybrids to be able to put them in servitude and strip down the DNA, draw back the telomeres to cut the age. That was the first thing they did.